as you can see, these are now coloured in at the back. I'm going to put these to one side, let these dry. What I'll be showing you from now on is I'll be using some eyes I made a while ago. So I'll put them to one side. Ooh, might have smudged that one a little bit. Might have to go over that one again at some point. Right, the clay that I use is this Das air dryer clay. It does make a mess, but I still find it extremely good. A block like this, this is a 1 kilogram block. It can cost anywhere between, it all depends on where you go. It cost me, I think I picked up a block the other day, or the other week, for £4 a block. Just over halfway through this one, I've used another one, and I've done absolutely loads of things. I've done fairy doors, dragon's eyes, and other bits and pieces, so it's definitely worth the money, and you'll see how little I use. Right. Now comes the fun of trying to get some out. It will come out, it will. Like I said, it's a bit of a pain. Right. That should be plenty for all I need. I'll probably have to put a little bit back as well, so with this you can just fold it back up. I think I've got some sellotape on there somewhere. Yeah. Sew that back up with some sellotape. You want to work this for a little bit, just to make it a little bit pliable. If it does get a little bit too dry, you can just add a little tiny touch of water to it, and it will come back good. Now, where did that paintbrush go? Might have to add a little tiny bit of water to it. I think the kids have been using this for glue. Oh dear. I'm going to have to get them their own paintbrushes at some point. Probably get them a set for Christmas. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water to it. Make a bit of a squelchy noise. There we go. That's coming along better now. Hopefully you can't hear too much of the building site behind us. They start at 7:30 in the morning. Right, just get a bog standard rolling pin, pound shop. I don't tend to roll this out very thinly. That's plenty. So what's that? 2 millimeters thick. I made this little template myself ages ago when I first started doing these. Simple bit of card, shape of an eye. Don't worry about that, that's just the dog. What are you poking this time, Ralphie? I'll have a look in a minute. Got myself a little X-Acto knife here. All I want to do is cut round the eye shape like so. Don't worry about the edges, they'll get neatened up in a little while. There we go. That's one done. You want 2 for this. So let's just work this a little bit again. It's got a tiny bit dry. Bit of water added. There they do. Yeah, the workmen seem to start at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and they don't finish until, I mean, they have been working a couple of times when it's been dark over there. They've had sort of like the floodlights going, which, yay. But we know it was going to happen. We thought it was going to happen about 3 years ago, but then the building fell through, and the guy that had the land lost a lot of money, so he had to sell the land on again. And the only problem is we haven't got the infrastructure for a load of new buildings, and yet just 500 yards down the road we used to have an old caravan site. They closed down, sold the land, and they're building, I think it was 250 homes on it. It's bad enough trying to get a doctor's appointment as it is without all these new houses going up, and there's not school places for the children, so no one knows where the children are going to be going to school. Oh, lots of fun. Right, there we go. That's 2 done. See, this I can now put back in the block. I reckon what's left in this block, I could easily get another 20 maybe more eyes. Fairy doors take up a little bit more. Probably get about 15 fairy doors. Right, so don't need the template anymore, so they can go to one side. Now to tidy up these edges, I find if you get a paintbrush with a tiny bit of water, just wipe it off on there, and then just go on the side, and then just rub your finger lightly over it. Smooths it all out. I'll just quickly do this and go on to the next very important part, which is how to attach it to a pendant. It's quite easy really. Just includes an extremely bent eye pin. You can get them from most jewellery makers, craft stores, eye pins. So I'm not using anything here that's going to cost a fortune, or you're going to find it hard to find. I mean, this air dry clay you can find online, craft shops, out in America, Hobby Lobby and Hobby Craft and whatever hobby places you've got over there. I'm not too keyed up on all the different craft shops over there, but it's pretty easy to find. Glass pebbles, I think I got 100 off of eBay for pennies. I think it works out to about the eyes. Each glass pebble is less than a penny each. Something stupid. There we go. Now I want to pick the best one out of these two to go on the top. So let's move that one down a little bit. That's a nice one to go on the top. So I used the roughest looking one for the bottom. Right. I think I had some bent eye pins on here somewhere. No? My craft table is a mess at the moment. That's a dog snorting in the background. One moment, I will go and get one. Right. Eye pins. Now this is how you want them to look. So it's literally an eye pin. As you can see, that's why they call it an eye pin. It's got an eye at one end. It just looks like a pin. What you want to do is get a pair of pliers, go to about there, put a bend in it, like that, and put a pair of pliers there. Hopefully you can see this. I've never actually done instructional videos like this before, so you'll have to excuse me. Put a bend so it looks like that. Another bend so it looks like that. And then you want to make a hook. So it goes all the way around the pliers. Watch your fingers at this part. There you go. And make it into a hook like that. Pretty easy. Eye pins are cheap as anything online. I got them ages ago when I was making jewellery. I think I might get back into it actually. Right. So you take your bent eye pin. You want to place it in your clay. So you've got 2mm sticking out at that end. Just press it in. Don't worry if it doesn't stay there, it will. Trust me, it will. Next, you want to work out the placement of your eye. I usually say there-ish. There-ish. Technical term. So you want to add a tiny bit of water just to dampen it. Like that. Place the eye in. I forgot one important part. Bammy. Just need a tiny bit of clay. Not too much. Literally, that is more than enough actually. That is definitely more than enough. There we go. That amount is plenty for what I need to do. So wrap the packet up again. If you do leave it open, it will dry out rather quickly. Right, what you want to do now is you want to roll a sausage. It's a little bit dry. Need some water. There we go. Excuse me. Just need that a little bit. There we go. Plenty. Right, you need to roll it into a sausage. You don't want it very thick. You just want enough so that when you put the upper eyelid on, it doesn't all collapse into the crack underneath where the eye is. That's plenty thick enough. Just a bit of water. Go around the eye. Sorry if my hand's getting in the way. Just literally around the eye like that. Just a slight dampen it. That end's a bit thin. And you want to coil that around the eye. There we go. And then hopefully you can see this okay. Hold on. Yeah, if I put it that way, this is going to be a bit strange for me because I've never done it this way around. I'm going to take a tiny bit of clay, and you want to mould it into a funny sort of triangle. I'll show you in a second once I've got it right. It's a bit tricky. There we go. You want it that sort of shape, and you want it thinner this side. You want it thinner that side, but thicker at this point, because there's a bit of water. You're going to attach that. Oh, not the camera. You're going to attach it. Oh, that's not going right. Bear with me a second. There we go. Attach it to it like that. Hopefully you can see it. Well, I'm going to turn it back around the other way because I've never done it that way and it's causing me a bit of trouble. So I put this tiny bit of spare back in. You might think, oh, it's only a tiny bit. But trust me, that tiny bit comes in very handy. Especially when you're trying to do things like little tiny bits like this. Little tiny screw head. Little tiny screws. And little tiny cogs. That's for the steampunk sort of thing. Right, let me turn this eye back round. Now, this clay might look grey at the moment, but it does dry white like that. As you might be able to see, it's starting to dry a little bit around the edges already. So we need to move fast. Right, next job is if you just lay the upper eyelid over the eyeball, you can get a sense of where to cut and how big to cut. So doesn't matter if you're off a little bit, because you can always smear it about a little bit with a bit of water. So, there we go. Just have a look to see how that looks. There we go. Now that tear duct isn't showing, so I can take a little bit more off there. Only a little bit. I only do a little tiny bit at a time, because you can take it off but you can't really put it back on. Right, that tear duct is showing now, so that position is good. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to smear this whole bit here with water all the way around. Make sure it's nice and damp all over it, including where the eye pin is, because that'll give you a better seal and that'll keep the eye pin in place better. So just lay that over, line it all up and give it a squidging down. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit off around the sides. You can work on that in a little while. I'll just go inside the eye there with a damp paintbrush, and that'll smooth out that edge. Use your finger, just a touch. What you want to do is, where the eyelid meets the eyeball, if you go in at an angle, so that, I'll do this left-handed if I can, if you go in at an angle and push the clay away from the actual eyeball itself, it'll make it look a lot more realistic. There we go. Now you could just leave it like that, or you could, hold on a second, you could add a few different bits to it, like I don't know, leaves, and let's take that one out to give you an idea of the sort of thing you can do. This is one of the many I've done. You can add leaves and little bumps and little bits and pieces. Let's see if I can get out the light there. There you go. I mean, the leaves are easy enough to do. Let's pick out another one. That one's quite nice. You'll see it in a second. There you go. You can put little mushrooms, little toadstools on, little vines. I found quite a few people like my get in there. Yeah, I found a few people like my flame dragon's eye. It's just got flames decorated in flame colours, black and dark red at the bottom. But you can also do another thing with this. This is where this stuff really comes into its own. One thing I have found that gives a really nice effect is this netting. Also, for this one, all I've used is one of the plastic covers for my paintbrushes and just done it at an angle and made little scales. So I'll show you how I do it with the netting. Let's just pick this up a second. Don't worry about it breaking, it won't break, it'll peel off, it might go a funny shape, but you can soon sort that out again. Around these edges, just use some water and smear it all together with your fingers. That can take a while, especially with today. It's dried out quite quickly today. It doesn't usually dry out this quickly. But you just smudge it together. Technical word, smudge. To smudge. There we go. That's just his Nibsy's phone. Not here at the moment. I won't worry too much about that. That'll get covered in paint. And where you've smudged it together, with it being damp. That will soon all seal itself. Right, now how I use this now, what I do is I saturate the top of it, absolutely saturate it with water. Anywhere you want the netting to go. With this one I want it to go all over. There we go. Just give it a rub with your finger to get that clay coming up. I mean, that'll soon start becoming sticky, which it is starting to already. Just keep rubbing it until you can actually feel it on your finger. I mean, I've got clay all over my fingers anyway, but you can actually see it coming up there. So what you want to do now is you want to put the net over it and rub the net onto the eye. Don't worry about creases or if there's going to be a strange look to it because it's bunched up in one place. It all gives it that certain extra something. What I also do is I put some water over the top of the net as well. Use a paintbrush to help push it down. A few wrinkles in it won't matter. Now it's best to leave this now for a good hour to help it dry. I don't know whether you'll be able to see it on this one. The kids have tried painting this one for me, but I can soon go over that. The bottom of this one has been done with the bit of plastic, but if you can just see the top, it's got that slight texture to it. I don't know. Oh, I have got one that's been painted that's been textured like that. Hold on. There you go. This is one that's got that texture on it. Hopefully you can see that okay. It's just a very, very slight texture. It makes it look like it's got really fine scales. It's a really good trick, that. I mean, you can texture it with anything. A toothbrush, a piece of wood. Excuse me. There's no ends to what you can do. You know, just if you want to have a go at this, go for it. Like I said, you can attach bits to it, like the other dragon's eyes that I've got. You can just leave it plain and paint it in strange colours. You can add crystals to it. This is one of the... I've got one with rhinestones on that I did a while ago. That's this one. It's got little rhinestones in it. You can put any sort of embellishments you want on them. Just have a go and have some fun. I'm not going to bother painting them because, I mean, they're going to take a while to dry and painting is easy. The only thing I will say, if you don't worry about going over the eye. If you go over the eye with paint, you can just use a point like this and literally just scratch it off of the eye. So don't worry about painting the actual glass eye. You can scratch it off, then you can varnish it or you can leave it as it is. I like to varnish mine just to give it that little extra seal. But yeah, that's my dragon's eyes. I hope this has been informative. I've never done an instructional video before. If you've got any questions, please put them down below. And like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's probably a little bit long, but like I said, hopefully it's given you all the information you need. If you've got any questions about it or are unsure where to get supplies in your local area, I can have a look for you if you leave a comment below and say, look, I'm having trouble finding blah blah blah, like air dry clay in, I don't know, Belgium. I can have a look online for you and point you in the right direction. But yeah, go ahead, have some fun, you know, get crafty. Anyway, we'll see you on the next episode. Not sure when the next one's going to be. I'll probably go down the allotment at some point and have a look at the ochre. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Lazy bye for now.